Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in Manchester. This is for my sunshine. This is day 51 of your digital daddy in Dubai. And what can we say about today? The morning started with a thought that I'm going to send an email to none other than Dr. John D. Martini. And I told him the story about the journey I've had over the last 20 years since meeting him, right? And I've said this to you before, Sunshine, that in when I lived in South Africa and John D. Martini taught me how to speed read, he took me from 45 words a minute to 450 words a minute in about 2.5 hours, and to 10x your reading speed in that amount of time takes something special, right? And one of the things that I said to John at the end of that seminar is, "Who are you, man? What kind of stuff is this? You've taken me from here to here in such a short space of time." And one of the things that he taught me was most people read what we call the speed of sound. Yeah. But he said, "I'm going to teach you how to read at the speed of light." Now, I'll tell you the difference, right? The speed of sound is as fast as you can say it with your mouth or in your mind. Okay. So imagine you're reading it in your mind, you're saying the words in your mind, and that's the speed of sound. Excuse me. I was up early today. Anyway, speed of sound. So what he said is, "I'm going to teach you how to read at the speed of light." And the speed of light is how quick does the light come on? When you shine a light, what's the speed that it carries? What's the speed that it gets there? And the speed of light is if a word flashed in 1/100th of a second, you'd know what he said, right? So this is one of the things that he taught. And in this speed reading session, he actually teaches you how to, there's a method where we actually reprogram your brain on how you've been taught to speed. So, sorry, how you've been taught to read. And after doing this exercise, he scrambles up your brain to help you understand another way of reading. Anyway, after that speed reading seminar, I said, "Who are you, man? Who are you and what do you do?" And in his own voice, he said, "If you'd like to spend 24 hours with me, I have a program called the Breakthrough Experience. You can spend 24 hours with me." And I said, "Sign me up, mate. Sign me up." And that weekend changed my life. It changed how I see things. And in my book, a lot of I reference John quite a lot. And looking back at my life over the last 20 years, there have been events that have gone on. And the information John gives you at the seminar, the Breakthrough Experience, is exactly what it says. You break through experiences that you think are one-sided, where something was really, really, really bad. But in actual fact, the only reason you saw that it was bad is because you didn't see anything good out of it, right? Now, I'll give you a live example. The night before I left to come to Dubai, there was an experience that we all had, right? And you could say it wasn't a nice experience and there was nothing good about it. But in actual fact, this series, these recordings have come out of that event. As time's gone on and on and on, by March the 10th, I thought I need to do something. And the something that was born out of that frustration was this series, Revealing the Times to My Son. Now, it's become more than that now, right? Because there are people, we've had Blockchain Papa on, we've had Mr. Ratty, Marc Ratnavera on, we've had Sue Patel on, we've had Kalpesh Patel on, we've had Ba Dada, my mum and dad on. And the reason they've been on is because I wanted to say thank you to them for being part of this journey and acknowledging them. Because look, in life, you have to be grateful. You have to be grateful for everything. I'm grateful to your mum. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to Nanny Nana. I'm grateful to so many people that have contributed specifically to my life. And that was the reason why when I woke up and I thought about my life, I saw an email from John DeMartini, right? Promoting one of his seminars. And I thought, wow, you know what? Let me message John and thank him and tell him the story, and how over the last 20 years since I've done his program, it's his work has helped me through so many events that have happened over the last 20 years. And look, when you're older and you want to look into this information, by all means, the information's available for you to learn. And these are, I would say, these are tools, right? Because things are going to happen to everybody. Somebody you love is going to go and die. Remember when Daddy Bar went? For me, personally, it's probably the greatest funeral I've ever been to, right? And a lot of people will say, how can you say that about a funeral? That person died. But it's only sad if you didn't get a chance to speak to them, right? And I used to say to you, listen, every time we go and see Daddy Bar, it might be the last time we see her. And it's the same for everybody, right? So the idea is every day, in every way, say whatever you have to say to somebody, right? And the reason I say that is because sometimes you don't know when it's the last time you speak to them. And I'll use my friend Seb, right? I was devastated to know that he's gone. And I remember when I found out the night before, I couldn't believe it because on Saturday afternoon, before the day before I left for Dubai, that was the last time I spoke to him. And I didn't think that would be the last time I speak to him. So I'm glad I got to see him before I did. And, you know, he lives in my heart. I hear his voices sometimes when I'm doing the things I'm doing because he's somebody that I shared a lot of stuff with. And he'd always ask me, how's this? How's that? How's your son? He always asks how old you are now and whether you're doing well. And he was so proud that you do filming, you've been on series and things like that. So when I emailed John DeMartini this morning, that was the first thing I did, right? I woke up, I saw a message, and I thought, right, let me email John and tell him the story and um how amazing it is that throughout the whole day, the best part of my day is recording this message for you, right? even though I don't know when it is you're going to watch it, I know that it's available for you. And like it says there, make life remarkable. It's a remarkable part of my day because it gives me the ability to share whatever I want with you. And as you know, the format when I bring a guest on is I'm going to acknowledge them for the things that they've done for me. And at the same time, it, they get to receive this acknowledgement from me, give me their feedback and what they think. And at the same time, before it ends, they get a chance to give you a message, right? So I've emailed John and I've told him the story, and I said, look, I'd love to have you on this YouTube show that I do for my son. And at the end of it, give a message to Jaden, right? So as time goes on, we haven't got a guest today, but there are loads of people lined up that I've had conversation with, some really epic people. So going back to my email to John, after I'd written all the stuff that I wanted to write as a message to him, I saw another message from somebody called Marc Steinberg. Now, Marc Steinberg, I met 20 years ago in South Africa. He's the founder of Consciousness Coaching. And again, he's a remarkable human being. And he was remarkable 20 years ago when I interviewed him. And he's still remarkable now. He's created a new program. And the most beautiful part of this thing that I saw immediately after finishing the email to John, I clicked send and I saw a video by Marc Steinberg called Yatra, the movie. And look, I'll tag you, I'll send you a link for that. But this movie that he's created, it's only about 25 minutes long. But this, and you know what, I'll tag it in the description of this video for those other, but whoever's watching this that's not my son, that would like to experience this masterpiece that Marc Steinberg has created. But it was even more special for me to watch this journey of 25 minutes, purely because, number one, I met him 20 years ago. Number two, I interviewed him 20 years ago, and his story was phenomenal, right? I'm not going to go into his story right now. Maybe for when he comes on this YouTube show towards you, Jaden, I've got no shadow of a doubt that he wouldn't come on, because I interviewed him 20 years ago, and to interview him again after 20 years, to know of the journey, to know who he is now, and the fact that he did something called the yatra. And then what I want you to understand is the word yatra is where you go around India and you visit temples and spiritual places. And when I was 15, I went on a yatra with Dada and, wait for it, 209 other people. Imagine this, children and adults, majority children. We traveled, I think it was for 2 or 3 weeks. All lot of us, we traveled all together from different parts of India. We traveled along and we did a similar journey to what Marc Steinberg's doing on the Yatra, the movie. And all the things that he explains in this movie are so profound, so deep, and so relevant to today. It helped me understand that all of those things that he's talking about, I went through those things when I was 15. thanks to your granddad, my dad, Dada, who helped organize it. And it was from all the different temples from around the country, all had their the children and the volunteers from each temple and community center all came together and traveled around India to Rishikesh, to Varanasi, to all of these places, went to the river Ganges and experienced so many things at the age of 15 that upon that journey, when you come back, you have a different perspective of life. And as a result, I believe that that's helped me become who I am today. So, like I said, I am going to tag Mr. Steinberg and his masterpiece in the description of this this video for those of you that are watching this to watch it. And if you get some inspiration, then great. And if you don't, I thank you for watching it. But whilst I'm thanking you for watching this, make sure you like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment or a question or something you're struggling with or something that you don't agree with, something that you don't understand what I said. By all means, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your questions. But look, something else I want to add today. That was the start of my morning, and I knew with that kind of start to the morning, the day's just going to be awesome, right? And it was, and it still is. And another thing I want to share your story about that happened today, and it relates to 2 weeks ago. As I was walking through this mall called Wafi Mall, I've got to know lots of shopkeepers and people who work in these shops. And as I walk past, they say hello and we have a chat. And more often than not, the subject is, what are your dreams? What is it you'd love to do? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And are you doing anything to contribute towards that? So the other day, I think it might have been a couple of weeks ago, as I'm walking through the mall and I speak to this one Russian gentleman, we review the conversation because it's not the first time we've spoken, right? And as I walked away, walking through the mall, these two young boys ran up to me, and I mean, they ran up to me, ran. And they said, excuse me, sir. Can we ask you some questions? I said, sure, yeah. I said, but before you do, let me ask you a question. And the question I asked them was, how many people have you stopped? And how many people have said, yes, you can ask me some questions? And you know what they said? We've approached 5 people, and one of them said yes, which is you. And I thought, wow. So that I said, based on that information, we can immediately assess that if you speak to 5 people, one person will talk to you, right? So if you want 2 people to talk to, guess what? You need to speak to 10 people because 8 are going to say no. The ratio is 1 out of 5 will say yes. And what are the chances that they stopped me, right? So they asked me various questions after that, and I answered them, and I even gave them some homework, okay? I gave them some homework, and they messaged me. In fact, they didn't message me because I didn't give them my number, but I gave them my name, and I said, put it into Google, put Dizzy Taylor into Google, and shortly that later on that evening, I got a LinkedIn request from one of the young boys. And look, I did invite him on a call today, but for some whatever reason, that wasn't possible. But what did happen when I met with them for the first time, I shared some tips and exercises that can help them, right? I can help them achieve their dreams, their wishes, and get them started. And they did their homework, and we met, I think it was last week. And after setting them their homework on the exercises to do, I said, let's meet again in a week's time. And tonight I met them again, and they'd done what I said to do. They took the steps that I told them to take. And I want to acknowledge these two young boys that came. I won't reveal their names. Maybe they want to stay private, so I won't say that. But I invited them on the call today because they did something that most people don't do. They took action. Remember, I say there's three types of people in the world. Ones that make things happen. Two that watch things happen. And three, those that say, what the hell just happened, right? Everybody's part of one of them three categories. And I'm not saying that they're like that all the time, but everybody has those qualities, right? That they are the majority of the time. And it's up to you to choose which one of the three you're going to be. Look, the people that make things happen, they just take action. Your granddad is the guy that makes things happen, right? He wouldn't be who he is if he didn't make things happen. I believe I come under that category because I've made a lot of things happen for me in my own personal life and within our lives, within our family life. And there'll be more to come. So today's lesson, day 51 of Daddy in Dubai, is take action, dream big and dream bigger, and acknowledge the people that have helped you on the journey, right? Because everybody wants to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And that's all for today, sunshine. This is your digital daddy in Dubai on day 51. Love you to the moon and back, sunshine. And I'll see you tomorrow for another Daddy in Dubai.